I was sitting at the kitchen table with my guidance counselor when my dad looked her straight in the eye and said, "Art school? I'm not paying for that. She'll end up working at a coffee shop." The counselor went quiet. My younger brother smirked. Mom looked down at her plate. That was the night I realized I was completely on my own. My name's Hannah. I'm 26 now. Back then, I was just a high school senior with a sketchbook and a dream nobody took seriously. I grew up in a working-class family. Dad was a mechanic. Mom was a nurse. We didn't have much, but we got by. And honestly, I didn't need much. I just wanted a chance. But in my family, art wasn't practical. It wasn't serious. It was hobby stuff. My younger brother Kyle, he was the practical one. Business major, Dad's favorite. He got full college funding, no questions asked. Me, I worked part-time through community college, transferred to a design program, and paid my own way with scholarships, freelance gigs, and way too many late nights. I wasn't flashy. I wasn't rich. But I had grit. And I had vision. I didn't have their approval, but I had something they didn't expect. I believed in myself even when no one else did. If you've ever been pushed aside by family, subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from. Because what happened next taught me that sometimes the people who doubt you the most are the ones who'll need you the most. Let me take you back to my senior year of high school. I'd just been accepted to a design program. It wasn't some fancy art school, but it was real, and I had a partial scholarship. I just needed about $8,000 a year to cover the rest. So one night at dinner, I brought it up. Kyle was also heading to college that fall. Business school. Dad had already agreed to pay his full tuition. $15,000 a year. No hesitation. I slid the acceptance letter across the table. "I got in," I said. "I just need some help with tuition." Dad barely glanced at it. "Art?" he said. "You want me to waste money so you can doodle? That's not a real career, Hannah." Mom said nothing. Kyle laughed. "Yeah, good luck with that." I tried to explain. Graphic design, branding, digital media. These were growing fields. Dad cut me off. "I'm not throwing away my savings on something that won't pay off. Your brother's going into real business. That's an investment." The word hit me like a slap. Investment. Kyle was an investment. I was a risk. I didn't cry. Not in front of them. I just got up, went to my room, and closed the door. The next day, I was in the hallway when I heard Dad on the phone with one of his buddies. "She'll figure it out," he said. "Girls don't need to aim that high anyway. She'll probably get married." That's when something inside me shifted. I wasn't angry anymore. I was determined. I'd prove him wrong, no matter what it took. But here's the twist that really hurt. A week later, I overheard him talking to my aunt at a family gathering. "Hannah decided not to go to college," he said. "She just wasn't serious enough about it." He rewrote the story, made it sound like it was my choice, like I gave up, not like he refused to help. I realized then that he wasn't just dismissing my dream, he was erasing it. A year later, Kyle graduated with honors from business school. Dad threw him a huge backyard party. Invited all the aunts, uncles, cousins. There were balloons, a banner, a catered grill spread. I came home from my second job to help set up tables. My aunt pulled me aside. "So what are you up to these days, Hannah?" Before I could answer, Dad jumped in. "She's figuring things out. Still doing her little art thing on the side." Little art thing. Kyle got toasts, an engraved watch, a check for $2,000 to start his career. I got a pat on the shoulder. "Maybe next year you'll have something to celebrate," Dad said. I smiled, nodded, went inside and scrubbed dishes until my hands hurt. 2 years later, I was juggling freelance design clients while finishing my degree at night. I was at a family reunion BBQ, someone's backyard, cheap folding chairs, cooler full of soda. My uncle asked what I was doing for work. I told him. Branding and web design for small businesses, building portfolios, landing steady clients. Dad laughed, loud enough for everyone to hear. Oh yeah, she makes flyers and stuff. Not exactly a real job, but hey, keeps her busy. A few cousins snickered. My face burned, but I stayed quiet. Later, I was grabbing a drink when I overheard Dad talking to that same uncle. I tried to steer her right, he said. Some kids just don't listen. I left early that night. A few months later, Kyle called me. He'd started a small consulting business and needed a logo, a website, business cards, the works. Then Dad called. Your brother needs some design work. Family helps family, right? Do it for free. It's good practice for you. I wanted to say no, but part of me still wanted to prove I was good enough. So I agreed. I spent over 20 hours on that project, created a full brand package, clean logo, professional site, custom business cards. Kyle loved it, but he never credited me, never said thank you. And at the next family dinner, Dad bragged to everyone. Kyle did everything himself, built that brand from the ground up. I sat there silent, realizing the truth. I wasn't being valued. I was being used. After that, I stopped answering Dad's calls. But here's what they didn't know, what they couldn't see. I'd been building something the whole time. Over the past 3 years, I'd been landing bigger and bigger freelance clients. One of them referred me to a local startup. They hired me as their lead brand designer. The startup grew fast. I got a steady salary, creative freedom, equity options. I saved everything, every client testimonial, every invoice, every piece of my growing portfolio. I started getting asked to speak at design workshops. I built a small but loyal network in the local creative industry. My work got featured in an online design magazine. I never mentioned it to my family. I also moved into my own apartment. It was small, but it was mine. I didn't need to brag. I just needed to keep going. And then, out of nowhere, a major agency reached out. They'd seen my work. They wanted me for a lead designer role. I hadn't signed yet, but I was close. I knew one day the truth would come out, but it would be on my terms. Around that same time, my former professor, Ms. Delgado, reached out. She'd been quietly mentoring me for years, checking in, offering advice. You should apply for the Regional Design Award, she said. Your portfolio's strong enough. I didn't think I'd win, but I submitted anyway. Meanwhile, things were falling apart for my family. Kyle's business was struggling. He was losing clients. And Dad's mechanic shop? It was hitting a rough patch. Big chains were moving in. Competitors had slick websites, social media, modern branding. Dad's shop looked like it hadn't changed since 1995. One of his friends told him, "You should get someone to redo your brand. Make it look modern." Dad brushed it off. I've done fine for 30 years. I don't need a website or social media. But privately, I knew he was worried. Then I got the call. I'd won. Bronze level in the Regional Design Awards. It wasn't huge, but it was respected in the industry. The local paper ran a small feature. A family friend saw it, sent it to my mom. Mom showed Dad. He said nothing. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. It was him. His voice was stiff, awkward. Hey, we should talk. I need to ask you something. He wanted to meet for coffee, at the diner near his shop. I agreed, curious, cautious. We sat across from each other in a cracked vinyl booth. He cleared his throat. So, I heard you won some kind of award. That's good? Thanks, I said. Long pause. Look, I'm going to be straight with you, he said. The shop's struggling. I need a new logo, maybe a website. People keep saying I look outdated. I stayed calm. And you're asking me? Well, yeah. You do that stuff, right? And, family helps family. The irony hit me like a truck. Family helps family, I repeated slowly. That's what you said when you wanted me to work for free for Kyle. He stammered. That was different. I cut him off. No, Dad, it wasn't. You've never taken me seriously. You told people I was wasting my time. You said I'd never make it. A couple of people in nearby booths glanced over. Dad shifted uncomfortably. I was just being realistic, he said. I didn't want you to struggle. I kept my voice steady. I did struggle, but not because I wasn't good enough, because you didn't believe in me. I pulled out my phone. I showed him everything. My portfolio, the award feature, screenshots of client reviews, contracts, payments. Then I showed him the email, the one from the agency, offering me the lead designer role. I'd accepted it 2 days ago. I've been making a living doing this hobby for 3 years, I said. I'm doing fine. Better than fine. Dad stared at the screen. I didn't know. You didn't ask. Silence. He looked down at his coffee. So, will you help me? I took a breath. I'll send you a referral to another designer. Someone great. You'll pay them what they're worth. But you're my daughter. Exactly, I said. I'm your daughter, and I needed you to believe in me. You didn't. So now I'm going to believe in myself. And you're going to respect that I'm a professional, not your backup plan. I stood up, left $10 on the table for my coffee. Good luck with the shop, Dad. I really do mean that. And I walked out. A few days later, Mom called. She said Dad had been thinking a lot. I didn't push for an apology. Honestly, I'd already moved on. I started my new position at the agency. My work thrived. A few weeks later, Kyle reached out. He admitted he'd used my work without credit. Said he was sorry. It was small, but it was real. I accepted his apology, but I also set a boundary. If you need design work again, I'll refer you to someone. We're family, but I'm also a professional. He understood. Months later, Dad's shop got a modest refresh. From the designer I recommended. He sent me a text. Looks good. Thank you. It wasn't much, but it was the first time he'd ever acknowledged my work. And you know what? I realized I didn't need his approval anymore. I built my life despite him. Not because of him. I finally understood. I never needed their belief. I just needed my own. If this story hit home for you, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to prove yourself to family who doubted you? Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one. And if you've ever been the underdog in your own family, hit that subscribe button. You're not alone. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.